Welcome, honorable members, to this session of the People's Parliament, a platform for Ugandans to share and discuss issues of national importance. Agnes Nandutu, the Speaker of the People's Parliament, presides. Madam Speaker, I propose that we discuss the issue of corruption that is eating up the entire fabric of society. The question is, do you think corruption has affected women's political, economic, and social advancement?
Those in favor, aye. To the contrary, no? Aye. Ayes have it. Welcome to NTV People's Parliament, the only platform that gives Ugandans opportunity to discuss issues that affect their lives. As you well know, honorable members, you all know the impact of corruption in our country. May I have honorable member to give us some of the statistics? How, I'm meaning you, honorable member. Can you give us some of the statistics of how corruption has affected this country?
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. From the statistics, in 2003, just some of the few in the interest of time, Madam Speaker, the Gavi Fund, we lost 1.6 billion. 2000, police payment, 1 billion. 2009, NATS, 2.7 billion. In 2011, the bicycle saga, 5 billion. In 2003, the Ministry of Health were 135 million. In 2009, Madam Speaker, and the honorable members here present, the NSSF, 2.7 billion, and the list goes on and on. And in our vernacular, in my own vernacular, I cannot even pronounce and call the total, because that word trillion does not even exist in Lugwara.
You have heard for yourselves how corruption has affected our country, honorable members. So do you think corruption has affected the women's political, economic, and social advancement in this country? Please.
The negative impact of how corruption has affected the vulnerable communities. In this report, the reality check, among others, because of corruption, which is, Madam Speaker, the practice is very wide, it is varied, but it entails the misuse, the abuse of office, the effects of corruption, Madam Speaker, most severely felt by the vulnerable women, elderly, the girls, persons with disabilities include, and they are not limited to death, because in hospitals, we do not have these services because the persons in these public offices have corruptly enriched themselves. They sell, there's evidence, there's statistics that these drugs are sold. The health centers are really doing so badly. The hospital, even the dead are affected by the effect of corruption.
Honorable member, you're welcome to NTV People's Parliament.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker.
What do you think as a member of Parliament, what do you think should be done? Because as you have heard from a honorable member, this has immensely affected the women's political, social, and economic advancement.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. I know when we're talking about corruption, it takes two to tango, because corruption, as we know, is a vice that definitely you cannot be corrupt when you're one. So, as we talk about corruption, the first thing that I think we should do is to try as much as possible to change people's mindset, really. Because what really happens down in the village, as much as we're talking about, because when people talk about corruption, they only put it to government, that government is corrupt. But I will also put it down to the people who are implementing and changing the mindset.
So, Honorable, you are a woman member of Parliament.
Yes.
And as we are discussing, how has it politically affected you as women politicians? This
it has, because
vice of corruption.
As a woman member of Parliament, of course, it's my role in the first place that I should educate, sensitize the people in the rural areas especially. I'll talk about the rural areas. As a woman, I'm responsible for improving the status of my fellow women in the villages. One, by telling them their rights as women. What are the rights of women? They do not know them, the people down there. They keep saying we haven't got medicine, we haven't got that, but they cannot come out to demand for what they are supposed to get. So demanding for one's right does not mean really going out and demonstrating, but you can demand in a polite way. I'll take the information.
Please take the microphone for information, Honorable Member.
I want to give the information to the Honorable Member of Parliament that there is a difference between demanding and begging. Unless she's terming begging to become demanding. But when you are demanding, you do not beg. You say, I want this, whether it is for good or for bad, somebody has to give you what belongs to you.
Thank you for that information.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I didn't say we are going to beg. I didn't say we are going to beg. I said we are going to demand. But I said, you want me to define polite?
Go ahead and make your point, Honorable Member. Go ahead and make your point, please.
You can, fine, yes, even a silent demand can be a polite demand. It doesn't mean we are going to break windows. It doesn't mean we are going to destroy property. But I'm saying, let's know what is our right as women and then go and demand for our rights, but not violently. That's what I was talking about.
What violent means do you think shouldn't be used?
The example I can give is, because of course when you are demonstrating or when you are demanding violently, you gather other people who come in and destroy property, I can say. Sometimes they destroy. No, I'll not take that. Let me first finish my point.
Thank you.
I'll not take that. Mm-hmm. We come up, sometimes when we are demonstrating, we destroy property in the process of demonstrating. So what we can say is, let us educate our women.
As you think about education and asking people politely to do that, don't you think this is impacting on you women politically, as women of Uganda?
As women politicians,
yes.
One, let us educate, let us sensitize our women on our rights. Let them understand what their rights are or what our rights are. Two, let us come out strongly and demand for the rights that we are supposed to have. Let us now talk to whoever is responsible and give statistics as to what, like for example, as to what we are supposed to get. Like for example, the report of the Human Development Report of 2011 tells that the gender index, which is a composite measure, reflects inequality between the women in the rural areas and the women in urban areas. So what we need to do is put our women in the rural setting at the same footing as the women in the urban setting, so that we know what they're entitled to and then demand what we're supposed to get.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable, could you please introduce yourself and tell us, how do you think this cancer of corruption is affecting the political, economic, and social advancement of women politicians in this country?
Madam Speaker and honorable members, you know, on the surface of corruption, and maybe if we take the definition of corruption from an academic point of view, most of the people think that corruption is taking away resources which would have been used for provision of services to the people, and their misuse maybe by individuals or a certain group of people. Yes, I agree with that definition. But from experience, I've seen that I'm coming up with maybe my own definition of corruption. It doesn't stop at getting away the resources, but corruption is also in the minds of the people who are actually responsible for, you know, designing programs, budgets, and so on. They continue to design those programs without these concerns. And you very well know that if you have made your research, we have influenced the Minister of Finance and Economic Planning to come up with guidelines to actually, you know, guide those people from the grassroots. Because
but as we look at that, you as a woman member of parliament, just as I have asked Honorable from Luka, How do you think it has politically affected women in the country?
That's what I'm talking about. Because
yes.
For me, I went to represent the views of women with disabilities and persons with disabilities in general. That's what I'm telling you, that at least I've managed to influence the Minister of Finance to come up with guidelines to tell the people, the designers of the budgets, down, because you know the budgeting process in Uganda starts from the grassroots, not so. How many of you do participate in that budgeting process? And you are aware? If you are aware, why don't you participate? I will not take that. But let me just explain to you.
Please go ahead and make your point.
If people were aware about the budgeting process in Uganda, because it is legally provided for, people would have participated. But even the few who participate, their issues are never taken on board. Yet it is a requirement as per the guidelines of the Minister of Finance. But what has actually pained me as a person, because you are asking whether how corruption affects us as representatives, it does. Because for me, when I went to Parliament, I knew the problems of persons with disabilities. They are not educated because the Minister of Education does not care. You know, if we have struggled to ask government to come up with a specific budget vote for special needs education. You know, every financial year they promise, it is next financial year, it is next financial year. And you know, we have explained and explained. You know, you cannot take a child who has, you know, a learning disability, and you say that she will sit in the same classroom like anybody else. So this child has to be provided for. A person, you know, for me, I don't have a problem, because it's mainly those ones who have sensory disabilities. But you know, this one is not happening. That's why I'm saying that, apart from defining corruption as taking away resources, even the minds themselves are corrupt. Why do you leave out?
Thank you, Honourable Member. I will give you an opportunity because of time constraints. I will give you an opportunity. Yes, Honourable. You are a man.
Yes. At least I believe I am.
Yes. Do you think this cancer of corruption has affected the women politically in this country, and how?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to say that my name is Kaija Harold, for starters. The vice of corruption in this country is actually one of the best, I would think, policy in this country that is basically followed to the dot by those implementing it. People have started, you know, terming corruption to define it as if it's bribe. There's a distinction between bribery and corruption.
So what do you think can be done, Honorable Kaija?
For me, you see, the problem is that we've looked at the issue of corruption, that we need to remove the state from the political party that is in power. Because when a party that is in power
Honorable Member, we are discussing how corruption affects the social, economic,
Madam Speaker, you asked me what should be done. What should be done? I'm showing you where the problem is. If we say our money passes there, then I should tell you, let's put a guard there. I am telling you where you find people, potential politicians, real politicians, that are actually people manning our money, where a party is diffused with the state, your money will be lost. Okay? We should have people who are in positions to serve. But people are even put there when, like, somebody loses an election, says, I lost an election because I don't have money. So they give them some places to go and get that money. Okay. So when they pick that money...
Thank you. Can you clarify on the other microphone, Honourable Member? Use the other microphone, Honourable Member.
He said corruption is not about money, and we do not really link it to politics per se. It's both moral, spiritual. It's a deviation from the ideal. Yeah. But here he is telling us that if we change the power from what it is now, and is relating it more to money than what I thought, because at the beginning I was following, and I was looking at corruption as a deviation, social, spiritual, name it, moral, from the ideal. Now I'm getting confused when he's talking about change of power, politics, and money. Can he clarify what he means?
Yes, Honorable Kaija.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and for the information I was giving. I was giving
she wants clarification because you're diverting from the position.
That corruption is in a way different from a bribe. A bribe is when I want a service from you, I give you money. But corruption is a situation. There is money that was supposed to do something and someone diverts it. There was a time when our national parliament, Park, was questioning someone, people of Ministry of Agriculture. They were importing a one-day chick and they are costing it at 7,000. One of the MP was asking if it at one day it is costing 7,000, what would be the cost of it when it's 1 month? Would any Uganda be afford to buy it?
That is all corruption. That is all corruption, honorable member. Let's go for a break, and when we come back, we shall discuss on how this cancer of corruption has affected the economical advancement of women in Uganda. Welcome back. You are still watching NTV People's Parliament, the only platform that gives you an opportunity to air out what disturbs you in your life. So why demonstrate? Come and air your views here. Honorable member.
It is your economic standard that determines your political standard. Your economic substructure must determine your political superstructure. If women are economically weak, they cannot participate in politics. That's the way it affects them first. And in that direction, I would like to agree with Madam Honorable who took her seat. Corruption is not about government. Corruption is general. It is economic, it's political, it's social, it's moral. As long as you are deviating from the general point, you are being corrupt. On average, every Ugandan has given out 127,000 shillings in bribes. Is that corruption or it's not corruption? me who is bribing you, and you who is receiving the bribe to do me something, to do a favor, which is a disservice to the others. Are you being corrupt or you are not being? Let's leave corruption. Corruption is not all about the government. Anyway, it's our part. It's our part as citizens. When they have stolen your money, what do? You sit back and have you pushed the government to the wall and then it has kept corrupt? I really don't want you to focus so much on politics. Corruption is you and me. We have failed as citizens, we have failed to do our part. We must introduce in the contradictory law of development that in developing, you must solve a bigger problem and create a smaller one. We can push out.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Member. I'll give you an opportunity. Yes, Honorable Member holding the podium.
Thank you very
Do you think corruption has affected your economic advancement?
First of all, without mincing words, I will locate myself as somebody who wants to speak about corruption as the abuse or misuse of public resources specifically, because sometimes I think in generalizing it, we miss the essence and we go all over the place. So I would like to restrict myself to the misuse or misappropriation of public resources. That's the first thing.
Do you think it has affected women economically?
Yes.
That is what I want you.
Yes.
The route I want you to take.
Yes. Now, misuse of public resources has affected women in this sense. When you misappropriate, for example, resources that should help women, if women were able to access what was due to them, they would use it, for example, to start businesses. As long as women cannot access financing that helps them get out of poverty, then they remain in a perpetual state of poverty, making them susceptible to abuse, political abuse, and patronage, like my brother has just said. So yes, it has affected the economic advancement of women.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Holding the podium, you're also a woman.
Yes, Madam Speaker.
Go ahead and make your points, Honorable Member.
Yes, I am called Honorable Kakai Zerida. And Madam Speaker, I would first of all define the value of money. We have talked about trillions of money here. But you look at somebody stealing billions and billions of money. But do you know that 1 billion shillings can feed a person for 100 years if somebody was using 10,000 every single day? So we are talking about corruption like something that is very minor. But this is something that is killing us. I want to say that...
most especially women?
Most especially women. Actually, for me, I believe people who indulge themselves in corruption are murderers, because when they swindle money of a road and there is an accident, it means indirectly you have participated in killing those people. Because if the road was good and there was no pothole, maybe that accident would not have occurred. Now, most times the women are the ones that are financially broke, and they always depend on government programs. So you find that these government programs are suffocated by the corrupt officials, and these services do not reach down there, where the women are looking at the maternal health care, where the women are looking at taking their children for medication, because they are the ones who look after the children in the village there. So the issue here should be, what should we do for these corrupt people? Because they are always taken to Luzira, but you find a person who is in Luzira is busy building flats outside. Now you wonder, what is he doing? Why is he even in Luzira?
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Member, for that. Yes, Honorable Karuhanga, you are welcome to NTV People's Parliament. You have been one of the members of Parliament at the helm of fighting corruption. Do you think it has affected women's economical advancement?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. When you have 16 women dying every day during childbirth, or every other time, you do not only lose 16 women, but you also lose 16 children. And at times 20, because some may have twins, some may even have triplets. So what we are talking about here is actually murder. That corruption is that serious. Now when you steal public resources, when you steal 600 billion in public service ministry, when you steal 200 billion meant for IDs, and you give us 480 cards, you remember? Or you steal money meant for 70,000 bicycles and you don't even give us a single tire for a single bicycle, then you are busy killing women and children of this country. That's how critical, that's how important it is to address this scourge of corruption. Now, this has been ongoing. And let us be very sincere that you cannot separate corruption from government. Because we Ugandans do our role by paying taxes. When you buy a bottle of mineral water or toothpaste or use a taxi, you certainly pay taxes. Now, it's the role of government to appropriate, budget, that's what I mean, and spend this money in a very, very critical way, because we don't have so much money to waste.
Don't they do that, Honorable Member?
Now, yes, we do that, and that's done in Parliament. We do the budgeting.
Appropriate money in Parliament?
Yes, that's what we do.
Yeah.
Now, when we budget, then it's again the role of government to make sure that this money is spent as we budget it for. Secondly, it is also the role of government through the IGG, the DPP, the police, CID, the anti-corruption court, to make sure that these resources are strictly used, and those that steal this money are brought to book, are arrested, charged, prosecuted, convicted, and sentenced. But what do we see today? We see lots of mockery. You steal, it's a real mockery. You steal 600 billion, you go, you are arrested for some few hours. The next thing, you are busy enjoying yourself, flying all over around, swimming in our money. What degree of impunity do we need? What further degree of impunity do we need?
Thank you, Honorable Member, for that. You should be having something itching you. Can you go ahead and air it out?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I was so disappointed by Honorable Evelyn. You're trying to divert our mind, talking of diversion, morals. I get amused. You're a woman. I get amused. No, let's not look at the lighter side of the ball. Let's look at the problem itself. When we talk about corruption and women, and a woman stands up and says, it is diversion, it's moral, it's what? It becomes mockery. No, let's address corruption as it is.
Go ahead, Honorable Member.
Me, in my understanding, corruption is use of illegitimate means to obtain power. You can use favors or money. You get, that's my understanding of corruption. And I will make a point to you, Madam Honorable in the House. I lost interest. My uncle was my mentor, not until he was leaked with the ID issue. Surely we should not underlook the suffering we young people are up to because of what you old people, none bothered about us who are not your children, but only concentrating on your children. Surely, while I was sitting next to the Honorable, I told her that I'm a graduate of law. And I've never been employed where there is 300, where they pay me more than 300,000. And I was telling her that, is it fair? And she told me that, is government employing you? Then I told her that when the government is weak, its manifestation is in the private sector. We see the government's weakness by what the private sector does. So me, I think, Madam Speaker, the problem of Uganda is not people accepting me going to Makerere University because I want to access my ID and I pay 10,000. That is corruption per se. We should not encourage it. But I think the problem of Uganda is political and we should handle it as such.
How has it affected you economically?
How it has affected me economically? I can give you my wallet, Madam Speaker. Because of those corrupt officials, I have no money in my wallet. And per se, I'm educated. I should be earning.
Look at the 300 billion that we spend on foreign medical treatment when Mama Kit is only 2,000 shillings. Or the tablet that stops bleeding after giving birth is 600 shillings. Then you are seriously talking about corruption. Corruption in this country has worsened. Last year, we were at 140th position. This year, we are 142nd. So we are only getting more corrupt and more corrupt and more corrupt. We need to do something.
Thank you, Honorable
We need
Member,
to fix
for that
it.
point.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Member, how do you think this cancer of corruption has affected women economically?
Let us not focus on only government. We too are corrupt. I'll give you an example, especially women. I'm a typical African kid. From where I come, women totally inherit nothing. The inheritance goes to the firstborn, and when a woman is married away, they pay dowry, and in the event that that woman divorces or leaves the husband, the dowry is collected back. That's how it's supposed to be. The dowry is collected back, and the woman goes back home as a dependent. That means even as a woman gets married, she owns nothing, totally nothing to where she's going.
Do you think corruption has affected women economically?
I start by correcting ourselves. Corruption is not only embezzling or giving bribe. Corruption also involves the morals of the people. So when we are looking at corruption, let us not limit it to embezzlement of funds. And now to talk about how corruption has affected women economically. It has affected us so much, but in various ways. Politically, if you have not been involved in those women who have been earning so much, who have been accessing that money, competing with them is very difficult today. Because however much you may be sharp, without money, you cannot compete. So you are seeing women telling you, I've been in parliament for so many years. Does that mean that there are no other women? Does it mean that they are the only sharp women who can represent the nation? It's due to funds. If you want these women to understand corruption, go to these women, first tell them what they are suffering themselves. What we suffer in our situations, majorly in Africa, our attitudes. Our attitudes are so negative that we do not easily embrace things. You have to sit with them, first of all, to work on their attitudes. And that is what will help you make them understand how they are affected.
Thank you, Honorable Member. I think you have heard for yourself how corruption has affected the political, social, and the economic advancement of women in Uganda. Probably where you are, if you're corrupt, you're killing women in the hospital, you are killing children. Let's go for a short break, and when we come back, we are going to discuss how can we do in order to save this situation. Welcome back. You are still watching NTV People's Parliament, the only platform that gives you an opportunity to air out the issues that affect your community, yourself, or affect your country. And today we are discussing on how corruption has affected the political, social, and political advancement of women in Uganda. You have heard probably what honorable members have discussed in this August House. And now what we want to find out is what can we do as a country to ensure that we put this vice away. Yes, honorable member. In 2 minutes, what do you think should be done? Where have we failed and how can we save the women of Uganda?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My name is Patience Namanya. Madam Speaker, I must say I've been hearing debaters here saying that government is corrupt. But who is government? You and I are government. And so we must take responsibility. Corruption is a reality. It is a reality amidst us that calls for collective responsibility. I'm sure you know that you have bribed someone. And it takes two to tango, like someone here said. When you bribe, you are corrupt. And the person you're bribing as well is corrupt. So what are you? To me, corruption is genocide because it kills indiscriminately. A child, a mother, a man, whether you're tall or fat, whether you're FDC or NRM or what, it kills in this. And when it comes to fighting this vice, why it calls for corrective responsibility, it is because it affects all of you. And before you were DP or CP or NRM or FDC, first you were Ugandan. And don't you want a corrupt-free Uganda? It is possible. Let me tell you, the countries that are corrupt-free today in the world, Singapore, Finland, Denmark, those countries were once as corrupt as Uganda is. But what did they do? They all rose up. Each person took responsibility to fight corruption, to see a corrupt-free society.
Thank you, Honorable Member. You have made your point. We need a collective responsibility to fight this vice. Yes.
Women are forgetting to talk about this thing of sexual exploitation. This is also a form of corruption. Look at the university girls. These are girls who are exchanging sex in getting results. And this is demoralizing the mothers of this country. Look at the girls who are looking for jobs.
So what's the way forward, Honorable Member? What can we do?
Educate the public. Let's go back to the villages, as somebody is saying. Let's talk the language our mothers, our fathers understand. Being here in Kampala and begin talking English will not work.
What can we do as a country?
Corruption, as it is in Uganda, is as a result of institutional breakdown. Honorable Member of Parliament was standing here telling us of how a chairperson dipped his hands into the medicine of a hospital. Yet we know that we should be having a district medical officer. But then it is possible in this era that a person who should be a political head can dip his hands into the medicine. It is very funny. People have deliberately destroyed the institutions. I think they should also take the initiative to deliberately build the institutions. The women of this country and women everywhere are a backbone to our society. As a Ugandan, the way forward is to educate our people, empower them, and demand those ones that are responsible for building institutions to build the institutions. If we are 2, we shall demand. If we become 10, it's okay.
What is the way forward? I know you are very eager to debate, Honorable Member. You will be given an opportunity.
Madam Speaker and the members present. Madam Speaker, corruption basically is an impairment of integrity and moral principles. In Uganda, we do have corporate greed, which controls political will. In our case, actually, those who are powers that be are corporately greedy. It's not on individuals, and so there is no political will to fight corruption. The other thing actually is that power does not corrupt, but what is corrupting is it's the fear of the loss of that power. In our case in the country, the people who are in power, who fear to leave. What we need to do is this. A man who removes a mountain begins by carrying away stones.
Uganda has around 56 or more languages spoken, and several persons cannot hear this English that I'm speaking. And the system of government today has restrained or conditioned that freedom of people to go and talk out. A law has been crafted in this nation that prohibits open for a discussion or consultation of some group of persons going to reach information to people. That is one way forward needs to be looked into. Let freedom be given to people to speak in different languages that Ugandans can hear and understand, and they will condemn that. Two way forward is punish wrongdoers without mercies. Like Honorable Haranga said here, we have seen it in many cases. Persons who are found guilty are taken in the prison for only 2 weeks, and at the end of the day, they come back to enjoy the money while the rest of Ugandans are suffering. A case in point, you have them. You've seen that happening in several trials that we have seen here. The second last way forward that I'm suggesting, let's have a term limit in office occupancy.
As a way forward, let us continue to raise and create the court of public opinion. It's a very powerful court. Wherever we are, we need to convene ourselves and we have that right. 2, the Black Monday movement. Some of you who have not joined, it's very powerful. We need to be systematic. We need to document. We need to be with the law, with the legal provisions at our fingertips, and we need to be very courageous. There is security in numbers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Member, for keeping time. What are you doing as Parliament also?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I didn't want my sister to leave before mentioning this briefly, that the Black Monday has been there, but what has it achieved? It should evaluate its results. I think we need to come up strongly and be able to make recoveries from people who have stolen government money or public funds. Because now, when you're put in prison, in prison, we're not going to recover the monies that you've stolen. So let's come up with laws that we can recover monies from those who have stolen it. 2, I think, to me, this government has really been so lenient. We need to come up with an authoritarian, we need an authoritarian management style where we can enforce implementation of the laws. Implementation is very important. I'll borrow from the Rwanda style of management. Let's try to get people to appreciate that this is our country, we should love our country, and we should implement the law to the letter. If you've been found corrupt, let's recover whatever you've stolen and implement the laws. I'll just make an outcry. My maternity ward in my district got burnt a year ago. We've now gotten money somewhere, somehow, to build it. But what I'm being told is even the 100 million will not be able to start something. That will only go to foundation. Why? Because of the tendering process. That's why I was saying corruption is not only for government, it's for everyone. Those of you who tender, those of you who bid, you are corrupt because the bag of cement will be costed at 100,000.
Probably corruption is a very, very wide issue that we cannot finish within this time. And you have heard for yourselves, those who are in power and those who are involved in corruption, those who are in tendering processes, when you steal that money, you are injuring a woman in the village and you are killing a child down there in Rakai or up there in the Gulu district. So as a country, let's work collectively to ensure that we do not steal resources that are meant to improve the social well-being of Ugandans. Thank you for watching NTV People's Parliament. I'm still Agnes Nandutu, the Speaker of People's Parliament, and I adjourn this house until next time.